All right, so it was so weird because I woke up this morning saying Nebuchadnezzar. I have no idea why I was saying that, but God did give me Daniel and He gave me Jeremiah 51 last night. Um, Sometimes we start to worry and that kind of stuff, and so if we just ask God for, understanding, guidance, leadership, concerning His word, even He will show us. So Jeremiah 51 says, "Thus said Yah, I am stirring up the spirit of a destroyer against Babel, against those who dwell in Leb, my opponents. And I shall send strangers to Babel, who shall scatter her and empty her land, for they shall be against her all around on the day of evil." So someone said the other day that Esau is the son of Babel. And, I was kind of wondering about that, but then this came up, and I was like, okay, I can kind of see what's being said there. Babel was a place in which was built by Nimrod, maybe by Nimrod, but also by his seed. And basically, they wanted to build their way to heaven. So they built all these buildings. God confused the languages, Babel meaning confusion. And so you have all these different languages around the world, but you also have, spiritually speaking as well. The language that God speaks is the purest language, and that's what was passed down to man. Now, when man fell, he became very confused, and so they wanted to do things against God, and that's why the languages were confused. English very much is a rebellious language. A lot of the things that we say are straight up witchcraft and we don't even know it. And so it's all stemming from the spiritual disposition of a person. That's why he says he will give us a pure language, all right? So it says, or let the archers draw his bow and let him stand ready in his armor. Do not spare her young men, put all her army under the ban. And the slain shall fall in the land of the Kasdim, and the pierced through in her shrieks. For neither Israel nor Yehuda is widowed by his Elohim, Yah of hosts. Now, I want to bring attention to that because a lot of people thought that those people over in Israel were the Jews. And when they started to find out they weren't the Jews, and people started to tell them who were the Jews, all of a sudden it became, oh, well, the Jews aren't that important, and we replaced the Jews, and they denied Christ and all this. Because the fact of the matter is that spirit of Edom is reigning over a lot of people. Perhaps some of them are descendants of Israel, of Edom. Although I'm not one who thinks like Edom necessarily looks like one certain group of people, but the people who call themselves Jews but aren't stated about the Christian church that is actually a son of Edom. Now, I've heard many people in the church say, oh, Israel doesn't matter anymore. It's about us. We're the ones with the Son. The truth of the matter is, first off, many of them don't have the Son because you don't walk in spirit and in truth. You deny His laws, etc. Number two, according to the book of God is here, that's what it states about Edom, that he would say such a thing. So they're really acting out of that spirit. There's a lot of confusion when talking to these people about the word of God, and then you start asking questions, and then they get offended, and then they start trying to character assassinate you and all sorts of stuff. That's not the spirit of the living Elohim, all right? You've got a spirit of Esau. So it says, and the slain shall fall in the land of the chasm and the pierced through her streets. So I'm thinking this is actually what's going on with that land that they call Israel. The people that are called Israelis, they are the descendants of Greece, Rome, Turks, Cretes, and Cyprians, other Italians, Sicilians, and that. They also ruled the Byzantine Empire, and they are close to the Seleucid. I ended up looking up the kingdom of the Seleucid, and it looks exactly like the Medes kingdom. So some people think that this is actually, a war between the Medes and the Persians. So continuing, it says, for neither Israel nor Yehuda is widowed by his Elohim, Yah of hosts, though their land has been filled with sin against the set apart one of Israel. Flee from the midst of Babylon, and let each one save his life, and do not be cut off in her crookedness, for this is the time of the vengeance of Yah, the recompense he is repaying her. Babel was a golden cup in the hand of Yah, making drunk all the earth. The nations drank her wine. That is why the nations went mad. All right, so Babel got people out here confused about what life is. All right, they think it's just getting some money. Oh, we went here last year. Oh, we're living the life. We're going to get these blood diamonds real quick. We don't care who we have to enslave and dog and that kind of stuff to get what we want. All this is a part of Babel. They just keep building buildings thinking that they're going to reach heaven. heaven, and they ain't making it nowhere. So anyway, it says, Babel shall suddenly fall and be broken. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so be, she might be healed. We would have healed Babel, but she is not healed. Let us leave her and go to his own land, for his judgment reaches to the heavens and is lifted up to the clouds. So all these people, they're like, oh my gosh, you guys are the Christians. You're supposed to do this, help us. We've been telling you for forever what you should be doing. You never decided to do it. And it says we would have healed Babel, but she's not healed. She can't be healed at this point. There's too many people that want to go against God. And so it talks about people going back to their lands in the last days. There's a reason why Trump is kicking out all these immigrants, all right? People will go back to their lands in the last days. There's a reason why Netanyahu ended up in Greece. He's a Greek. There's a reason why some of these Israelis got stopped in Cyprus and in Egypt. The Sephardic Jews, some of them are part Egyptian, all right? The Cyprians, many Ashkenaz. That's why they're going to these places. So do not think that it's a bad thing for these nations to go back to where they came from. It's a good thing, because what is going to fall upon America, they don't want to be here in the first place. So it says, polish the arrows, put on the shields. Yah has stirred up the spirit of the sovereign of the Medes, for his plan is against Babel to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yah, the vengeance of his heckle. So it might be, because perhaps Iran is actually the Medes, but from what I read, the Medes and the Persians were like the same group of people, but they split. So it says, lift up a banner on the walls of Babel, strengthen the watch, station the watchmen, prepare the ambush. For Yah has both planned and done what he spoke concerning the inhabitants of Babel. You who dwell upon many waters, great in treasures, your end has come, the measure of your greedy gain. So my thoughts is, it's not just America, it's not just Israel, it's like many different nations that fall under Babel. It says, you who dwell upon many waters, great treasures, your end has come, the measure of your greedy gain. People enslaving the Congolese, and the Ethiopian woman, she got kidnapped and put into slavery by the Arabs. All this kind of stuff is greedy gain. Right now, Westerners are being kicked out of places in East Africa because of their atrocities concerning the mines. France was removed from Burkina Faso. So this is their greedy gain. Yah of hosts has sworn by himself, I shall fill you with men as with locusts, and they shall lift up a shout against you. He made the earth by his power. He established the world by his wisdom, and stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he gives forth his voice, the waters in the heavens roar. He makes vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightnings for the rain, and he brings the wind out of his treasuries. All mankind has become too brutish to know. I swear to God, if I had a freaking dollar for every person that's trying to ask me what I'm talking about, and it's nothing wrong with asking, but how they say it, very rude. And, the reason they don't know what I'm talking about is because they are not seeking God like that. He said they don't listen to you because they don't listen to God. That's literally written in the scriptures. So, man has become too brutish to know. Every smith has been put to shame by the carved image, the golden image of Nebuchadnezzar. For his molded image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are worthless, the work of mockery. In the time of their punishment, they perish. Why? Because you built your foundation on an idol and not on God. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the maker of all, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. Yah of hosts is his name. So this infamous question, you just spoke very, very straightly to me, and it offended me. You call yourself a Christian. Let's read this next sentence. You are my battle axe, weapons of battle, and with you I shall break nations in pieces, and with you I shall destroy reigns, and with you I shall break in pieces the horse and its rider, and with you I shall break in pieces the chariot and its rider. So that's going to be a very uncomfortable experience for the nations, all right? The fact of the matter is God will use Israel, and he will use other nations to destroy nations because of their wickedness. And then you will know that he is God, and some of you will even follow after that. So it says, And with you I shall break in pieces man and woman, and with you I shall break in pieces old and young, and with you I shall break in pieces the young man and the maiden. So he said, I did not come to bring peace, but I came to bring a sword, and he will divide the families, the mothers from their children, the fathers from their children, the brothers, and all that, because it's at that point, Yah is about divide and conquer. Not what they're doing in these nations, divide and conquer. We just want the money. No, it's divide and conquer. God is going to rule. So it says, and with you I shall break in pieces the shepherd and his flock. With you I shall break in pieces the farmer and his yoke of oxen. And what happened down there in South Africa? All right, they got to go anyway. That's not their land. And with you I shall break in pieces governors and rulers. What happened to Pharaoh? And I shall repay Babel and all the inhabitants of Chaldea for all the evil they have done in Zion before your eyes, declares Yah. See, I am against you, O destroying mountain, who destroys all the earth. I be trying to tell people, these people own sports teams, they own hospitals, they own media networks, they practice Kabbalah, they're humping the wall. These are not the children of Israel. All right, they are a wicked nation, a conglomerate of wicked nations. And, what they have done to Zion is usurp Zion's identity. They're pretending to be who they're not. And they have destroyed peace off the earth. So tell me why I should care about them running. I don't know why I should. So it says, who destroys all the earth, declares Yah, and I shall stretch out my hand against you, and I shall roll you down from the rocks and make you a burnt mountain. And they shall not take from you a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but you shall be a waste forever. All right? God says, if you even help the wicked, it is an abomination. He literally says that in the scriptures. But they got you out here thinking you need to help everyone all the time, at any time. Your brothers, your brethrens, and whoever God tells you to help. But if he tells you not to help these people, you're going to go down with them if you do help them. So it says, and they shall not take from you a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but you shall be a waste forever. Lift up a banner in the land, blow a shofar among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call the reins together against her, Ararat, Mini, Ashkenaz. Appoint a commander against Ashkenaz. What is happening in Israel right now? These are not the children of the Israelites. They're Ashkenaz, Jews. Bring up horses like hairy locusts. Separate the nations against her with the sovereigns of the Medes. So perhaps Iran's the Medes then. Its governors and all its rulers, all the land of his rule, so that the land shakes and writhes in pain. For every plan of Yah shall be established against Babel, to make the land of Babel a ruin without inhabitant. But their plan is to go into Khazaria, aka Ukraine, where many of them came from, for New Jerusalem 2.0, where they state they're going to bomb anyone who tries to come against them. And you call these the chosen? So it says, so that land shakes and writhes in pain, for every plan of Yah shall be established. The mighty men of Babel have ceased to fight. They remained in their strongholds. Their might has failed. They became like women. They have burned her dwelling places. The bar of her gate have been broken. One runner runs to meet another, and one reporter to meet another, to report to the sovereign of Babel that his city is taken on all sides, and the fords have been captured. And you know what? I think America is the daughter of Babel. Maybe. So it says, it's like threshing floor at the time that is trodden, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, has devoured us. He has crushed us. He has made us an empty vessel. He has swallowed us up like a monster. He has filled his stomach with my delicacies. He has driven us away. Let the violence done to me and my flesh be upon Babel, says the inhabitant of Zion. So all this that has happened to us is because of Babel, all right? Edom, being the son of Babel, usurped our identity, all right? Took us into slavery, we've been in this land not knowing who we are, all that kind of stuff. So the violence done to me and my flesh be upon Babel. This is also why God is judging Babel, because what they have done to his people. Let my blood be upon the inhabitants of Chaldea, says Jerusalem. Chaldea. I don't know who Chaldea is in modern times. That's where Abraham originated from. Some people say that it's Iraq, but we know like the land divisions are all different now. But it says, therefore thus says Yah, see, I am pleading your case, and I shall take vengeance for you and dry up her sea and make her fountain dry. So Yah is about to take vengeance, all right? He's taking vengeance right now for us. And Babel shall become a heap, a habitation of jackals, an astonishment, and a hissing without inhabitant. Together they roar like lions, they shall growl like lions' cubs. In the heat I prepare their feast, and I shall make them drunk, so that they rejoice and sleep a never-ending sleep, and not awake, declares Yah. I shall bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with male goats. Oh, how Sheshach has been captured. The praise of all the earth shall be seized, how Babel has become a ruin among the nations. All right, so we're going to see America go down, we're going to see Israel go down, and whatever nations are associated with Babel. So it says, the sea has risen over Babel. She has been covered with the roaring of its waves. Her cities have become a ruin, a dry land and a desert, a land where no one dwells, neither does the Son of Man pass by it. And I shall punish Bel in Babel, and I shall make him spew out. Oh, so Bel was one of the gods in which the Welsh and that worship. So I think Europe, or at least parts of Europe, might be included in this, especially like Britain and Wales and that. So it says, even the wall of Babel shall fall. So that Welling wall that's in Israel, look, where is that in the Bible? He never said pray to a wall. Come out of her midst, my people, and let everyone deliver his being from the burning displeasure of Yahweh. Unless your heart grow faint, and you fear the report heard in the land, for a report shall come 1 year, and after that another year a report shall come, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Therefore see, the days are coming that I shall bring punishment on the carved images of Babel, and all her land shall be put to shame, and all her slain fall in her midst. And the heavens and the earth and all that is in them shall shout for joy over Babel, for the ravagers shall come to her from the north, declares Yah. As Babel is to fall for the slain of Israel, so for Babel the slain of all the earth shall fall. So he's going to recompense because of the slain of Israel, but also because of the slain of the earth, because many people were pulled into this, all right? And they had to serve Babel, or else they couldn't take care of their families and all that. So it says, not that that's an excuse, he still expects you to turn to him. So it says, you have to escape the sword, go away, do not stand still. Remember Yah from afar, let Jerusalem come to your heart. And so I had a dream a couple of years ago that Russia was actually going to attack the U.S. They were going to send missiles, and China was going to be backing them. So it says, we are ashamed because we have heard reproach. Shame has covered our faces, for strangers have come into the set-apart place of the house of Yah. So you might be feeling a certain way because strangers have come into your vessel. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yah, that I shall bring punishment on her carved images, while the wounded groan throughout all her land. Though Babel shall mount up to the heavens, and though she shall make the height of her strength inaccessible, ravagers shall come to her from me, declares Yah. Listen, a cry from Babel and great destruction from the land of the Kasdim, because Yah is ravaging Babel, and shall silence her loud voice. And her waves shall roar like great waters, the noise of their voice shall resound. So I'm kind of wondering if some of these Middle Eastern countries are called the Chasm, and this is kind of why they're promoting Islam right now, because possibly a lot of these people will end up and will ravage Babel. But it says, and shall silence her voice, because the ravagers shall come against her, against Babel, and her mighty men shall be captured. Every one of their bows shall be broken. For Yah is the El of recompense; he shall certainly repay. People don't get that. Like, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow, man. Like, this is the day of judgment. People don't understand that there's a difference between the day of judgment and the day of atonement. He said one comes to judge you in the last days, and that's his son, Yah of hosts. It's different than Yah of salvation, Yahshua, Yehoshua, Jesus, Yah of salvation. Now it's Yah of hosts, the Lord who wars. He's going to war against these nations. There will be no salvation until the day of salvation comes. So it says, and why is it? Okay, it says, and I shall make her rulers drunk, and her wise men, her governors, and her deputies, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a lasting sleep, and not awake. declares the sovereign. I think that means they're going to die. I think that means, I think that means death. Whose name is Yah of hosts. Thus says Yah of hosts, the broad walls of Babel are completely demolished, and her high gates are burned with fire. The peoples labor in vain, and the nations weary themselves for fire. So you're like, man, I have to work this extra shift because I have to buy all these presents for a pagan holiday to give to, my family. They need a new PS7. I don't even know what we're at concerning PlayStations. They need a new PS7. We gotta have the new LeBron James kicks or whatever. You're laboring in vain, and when the time comes, you're gonna find out that your PS7 and your LeBron James kicks did not save your life. You're laboring yourself for fire and judgment. You care more about that than you do about his commandments. So it says, the word that Yirmiyahu the prophet commanded Sariah, son of Neriah, son of Messiah, when he went to Zedekiah, which I think is Zedekiah maybe, the sovereign of Yehuda, to Babel in the 4th year of his reign. And Sariah was a quartermaster. So Yirmiyahu wrote in a book all the evil that would come upon Babel, all these words which have been written concerning Babel. And Yirmiyahu said to Sariah, when you come to Babel and see it, read all these words, all right? Then you shall say, O Yahweh, you have spoken concerning this place to cut it off, so that none shall dwell in it. So when I had that dream that Russia was attacking America, I was like, where are all the people, God? And he said, they're gone. When you come to Babel and see it, read all these words. Then you shall say, O Yahweh, you have spoken concerning this place to cut it off, so that none shall dwell in it. All the people were gone. And I didn't understand that until I literally just read this now. Neither man nor beast, for it's a ruin forever. And it shall be, when you have ended reading this book, that you shall tie a stone to it and throw it into the midst of the Euphrates. And it shall say, so does Babel sink and not rise from the evil that I'm bringing upon her? And they shall weary themselves. Thus far all the words of Yirmiyahu. So, go read that. This is very important because I think it's actually taking place right now as we speak. Yeah, maybe I should read 52 as well. It says Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Yirmiyahu of Libnah, and he did evil in the eyes of Yah according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For through this the displeasure of Yah, this came to be against Jerusalem and Yehuda until he had cast them out from his presence, and Zedekiyahu rebelled against the sovereign of Babel. And it came to be in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th new moon, on the 10th of the new moon, that Nebuchadrezzar, sovereign of Babel, and all his army came against Jerusalem and encamped against it, and they built a siege wall against it all around, and the city was under siege until the 11th year of sovereign Zedekiyahu. On the 9th of the 4th new moon, the scarcity of food was so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then the city wall was breached, and all the men of battle fled and went out of the city at night by way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the sovereign's garden, while the chasm were near the city all around, and they went by way of the desert plain. But the army of the chasm pursued the sovereign, and they overtook Zedekiyahu in the desert plains of Jericho, and his entire army was scattered from him. Then they captured the sovereign and brought him up to the sovereign of Babel at Riblah in the land of Hamath, and he pronounced judgments on him. And the sovereign of Babel slew the sons of Zedekiyahu before his eyes, and he also slew all the heads of Yehuda and Riblah. And he put out the eyes of Zedekiyahu, and the sovereign of Babel bound him in bronze shackles and took him to Babel and put him in prison till the day of his death. And on the 10th of the 5th new moon, which was the 19th year of the sovereign of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, who served the sovereign of Babel, came to Jerusalem, and he burned the house of Yah. And the sovereign's house and all the houses of Jerusalem and all the houses of the great men he burned with fire. And all the army of the chasm who were with the chief of the guard broke down all the walls of Jerusalem all around. And Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, exiled some of the poor people and the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the defectors who gone over to the sovereign of Babel, and the rest of the craftsmen. But Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, left some of the poor of the land as vine dressers and farmers. And the chasm broke the bronze columns that were in the house of Yah, and the stands and bronze seat that were in the house of Yah, and brought all their bronze to Babel. They also took away their pots and shovels and snuffers and bowls and ladles and all the bronze utensils which they served, the basins, the fire holders, the bowls, the pots, the lampstands, the ladles. So they basically took away anything that was from the refinement of bronze. Bronze is a pretty decent metal, but of course it's not gold or silver, but it's also not wood and that kind of thing. And so basically this is like stripping them of the things of God. So it says, whatever was of solid gold and whatever was of solid silver, the chief of the guard took. So they stripped the really amazing things of God as well. This is what Babel does. This is what confusion does. This is what the rulers of this earth do. They don't want people to stand up in accordance to God, because that would take their rulership away. So it says the 2 columns, 1 sea, the 12 bronze bulls which were under it, the stands which sovereign Shalomo had made for the house of Yah. The bronze of all these vessels was beyond weighing. As for the columns, the height of one column was 18 cubits, its circumference was 12 cubits, and its thickness was 4 fingers hollow. And the capital of bronze was on it, and the height of one capital was 5 cubits, with the network and pomegranates all around the capital of bronze. And the second column with pomegranates was the same. And there were 96 pomegranates on the side. All the pomegranates on the network were 100 all around. And the chief of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, Zephaniah, the second priest, and the 3 doorkeepers. And from the city he took 1 eunuch who was in charge of the men's battle, 7 men who saw the sovereign's face, who were found in the city, and the scribe of the commander of the army who mustered the people of the land, 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, the chief of the guard, took these and brought them to the sovereign of Babel at Riblah. And the sovereign of Babel struck them and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. Thus Yehudah was exiled from its own land. There are the people who Nebuchadnezzar exiled in the 7th year, 3033. Yehudim in the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar, he exiled from Jerusalem 832 beings. In the 23rd year of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, exiled of the Yehudim 745 beings. All the beings were 4,600, and it came to be in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehudah, in the 12th new moon, on the 25th of the new moon. The Ewell Moradok, sovereign of Babel, in the 1st year of his reign, lifted up the head of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehudah, and brought him out of prison, and spoke kindly to him, and set his throne above those of the sovereigns who were with him in Babel. So he changed his prison garments, and he ate bread continually before the sovereign all the days of his life. And as for his allowance, there was a continual allowance given him by the sovereign of Babel, a portion for each day until the day of his death, all the day of his life. So I don't really know what that last part is about, but have to pray about it.